Today on Mr. Blue Gaming, we're talking about an awesome new fan project. That project is Super Mario Bros. Remastered. Take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell to stay notified of new videos. Now, let's jump in.
Super Mario Bros. Is the big bang of modern video games. Without it, the industry we know today might look unrecognizable. But this review isn't about a new Nintendo product. It's about something far more interesting, a fan project called Super Mario Bros. Remastered. This isn't a port or a simple filter, it's a painstaking overhaul that takes the original NES ROM, retextures it in HD, and makes it playable in a way that bridges the gap between 1985 and today. And in doing so, it raises fascinating questions about nostalgia, preservation, and who really gets to keep Mario alive.
The original Super Mario Bros. Released in 1985 and, quite literally, saved video games after the crash. It wasn't just popular, it redefined how games could be structured. Every hidden block, warp pipe, and Goomba set the foundation for decades of design. So when fans decide to remaster it, they're not just tweaking sprites, they're reaching into history and saying, let's see what this legend looks like through modern eyes. That's bold, that's risky, and it says a lot about how much players still care.
The biggest change here is visual. This fan remaster doesn't just upscale, it reimagines. Backgrounds have depth with layered HD textures, blocks look crisp, and characters pop off the screen with detail the NES could only dream about. Mario himself looks closer to his modern interpretations, but still moves within the rigid framework of his 8-bit ancestor. What's fascinating is that the fan developers didn't break the original geometry. Every block, every enemy pattern, every platform is exactly where it was in 1985. It just looks radically different. That gives us this uncanny effect. Your muscle memory from the NES still works, but your eyes are convinced you're playing a brand new game. And one of the coolest aspects of this project, it isn't locked to a single look. Players can actually swap in different texture packs, changing the feel of the game completely. Want clean HD artwork? Hand-drawn cartoon shading? Retro pixel reinterpretations? You can do that. It turns the remaster into more than just an update. It becomes a canvas for fan creativity, giving us mushroom kingdoms we've never seen before. The soundtrack here hasn't been re-recorded or orchestrated. Instead, it's been enhanced. The familiar tunes, the overworld theme, the underground rumble, the castle march are all still Koji Kondo's original compositions, but they've been cleaned up and given more depth. It's like wiping dust off an old record. The melody is the same, but it shines brighter, with more presence and clarity than the NES sound chip could ever deliver.
Sound effects, on the other hand, have been reworked. Stomps land with more punch, coins chime with added sparkle, and power-ups hum with a subtle new energy. None of it feels out of place. It's more like the soundscape you always imagined was there, finally revealed. The effect is subtle but powerful. The world of Super Mario feels alive again, not because it's different, but because it's sharper, fuller, and more immersive.
And here's where this project shows restraint. The gameplay isn't altered, no double jumps, no wall kicks, no modern concessions. It's still the tight, momentum-driven platforming that made the original revolutionary. That choice is important. It makes the remaster a visual and auditory facelift, not a reinterpretation. For fans, that purity is everything. It says, this is the game you remember, preserved in feel, but presented with the kind of fidelity your imagination thought it had when you were a kid sitting on the carpet with an NES controller. What makes Super Mario Bros. Remastered fascinating is what it represents in the preservation debate. Nintendo has been notoriously stingy with re-releases, often drip-feeding classics, through online subscriptions or repackaged collections. Fans, meanwhile, have taken preservation into their own hands. Projects like this exist in a gray zone. They're technically unauthorized, yet they're vital to keeping history playable in modern contexts. If you want to study the DNA of platforming, what better way than to see it reskinned for modern displays while retaining its original structure? It's like restoring a silent film in 4K, same story, new lens. But of course, there's an elephant in the warp pipe: Nintendo's lawyers. Fan projects like this often get hit with takedowns. Nintendo argues, understandably, that it must protect its intellectual property. But there's a tension here. Fans are doing what Nintendo itself often won't, making classics accessible and gorgeous. The question becomes, is this theft or stewardship? Are fans harming Nintendo, or are they keeping its cultural legacy alive? Super Mario Bros. Remastered is both a love letter and a provocation. It asks, who really owns the history of play? The remaster isn't perfect. Because it's fan-made, polish varies. Some textures feel more detailed than others, and not every animation transition is buttery smooth. Purists may feel the HD art lacks the raw charm of pixel art, and since it's still running on the original ROM, there are occasional hiccups when the high-res visuals don't quite match the old physics system. But here's the thing, those imperfections almost make it more authentic. This isn't a glossy corporate package, it's fans tinkering in their spare time to bring something they love into the modern day. So what is Super Mario Bros. Remastered? It's not a Nintendo product, and it's not a radical reinterpretation. It's something more grassroots. It's a demonstration of how deeply Mario is woven into gaming culture, that decades later, people are still pouring hundreds of hours into making him look fresh without touching what makes him fun. It's proof that games aren't just products we consume. They're shared cultural touchstones that fans want to preserve, protect, and sometimes reinvent. Whether Nintendo tolerates it or not, projects like this remind us why Mario isn't just a mascot. He's a living piece of history, and history deserves to be cared for.
Super Mario Bros. Remastered may never be official, but in many ways it's more heartfelt than anything Nintendo itself has released in years.
At the end of the day, this fan project isn't about graphics or gimmicks. It's about love for a plumber who, against all odds, became the most iconic face in gaming.
And love like that, you can't patch it out.